Welcome back. India is the land of beautiful handloom, gorgeous textiles. Generations of stories are handwoven here with pride. But ever thought about tech integration in our beautiful weaves, in our fabrics? Now imagine setting the temperature of your jacket that you're wearing, or adding a GPS system to your shoes, or as I got my hands on, which makes lamps, pieces of art, make music. You heard that right. Art installations that can play beautiful sargams.
It in many ways seems like a culture that was just waiting to happen. This is India's first e-textile startup. It's called Anuvad. The founder, Chel Khalsa, actually spoke to Sonal. Let's take a look at everything they had to show us.
So far, we've seen fabric, some beautiful handloom work that comes out of India, fabric that you can touch, you can feel, but one that you can hear as well. Well, this is the world of e-textiles and we're going to explore all about it. Let me welcome Chel on the program now. Hi there.
Hi.
Welcome. This is really fascinating. So Chel, for our viewers who don't know, runs this company called Anuvad.
Yeah.
Anuvad does lots of these fabrics, lamps, pieces of art, which are not just gorgeous to look at, but they have a very intriguing quality. Yeah. But before I get into all of it, and we're all surrounded by it today, tell me what exactly is e-textile?
So e-textile essentially is electronics embedded into fabric. It's electronic textile. As simple as that. So anything that has electronics embedded in it and is a piece of fabric essentially qualifies as e-textiles, but you can actually make things happen through it. You can make it light, you can make it sound, you can give it heat, you can take pressure on it. There's so many multiple usage, but the essential idea is that the electronics are embedded in the fabric. Yeah.
Nice, but this is for the first time globally something like this has been done.
Yeah.
So how did it happen and what is the integration? What is the story?
So I essentially come from a textile background and I studied at NID in my early years, and later in my life when I sort of went out for my thesis, I was in Switzerland and I sort of discovered the world of smart textiles and design innovation, research, all of this. It blew my mind and there was a lot of unlearning that I did. When I came back, I sort of felt like I was at a crossroads because craft was something that really helped my heart, but my mind was somewhere else.
Yeah.
And one of those brainstorming sessions just made me realize, okay, maybe there's a combination of the two as well. I don't really need to leave one for the other.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm happy to say that 8 years later, we survived.
Can you explain to us how and what this happens? And just for viewers, you'll have to come a little close to see that the E in the e-textile is actually woven in.
Hand-woven,
yeah,
actually.
hand-woven.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So this fabric that you're looking at is actually hand-woven in Kutch. And there are weavers that weave these on pit looms. It's a kala cotton. It's an organic variety of cotton that grows in that area and has been dyed and woven in this kind of what is also called a denim weave, a twill weave. But the idea is that we sort of interweave our proprietary circuits in it. So all these that you see are the LEDs that are sewable. And we had women artisans sort of sew them together. But the idea is that instead of adding like a conventional bulb, since we are, an e-textile company, we thought we should just make the fabric glow.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's come to this one, which has been my favorite piece so far.
Yeah.
And if we come this side, Chel, you'll see that you're basically saying e-textile is, there are no wires inside this.
It's completely seamless.
It's seamless and it's woven, and I can't help but this is so cool. This is, I will not stop. So tell me more about this. How did you think of getting in birds and different other instruments as well?
This actually started because we did like an installation for the Conscious Collective last year by Godrej and Boyce. And Godrej really has an affinity to mangrove preservation and etc. So we thought, okay, maybe something like that could be interesting. So we simulated an entire forest that was made out of these globes. And then obviously, since the forest was involved, there was a lot of nature, and we wanted each of the globes to mimic a tree. We sort of added birds to it to really add to the experience. So the idea was that you sort of walk through these globes and you listen to the birds, and you can touch the leaves and they ruffle, and you have the lights glowing, so you've got like a little bit of the starry night happening, all of that.
Right.
So apart from like just the fabric, what is also important to note is that there's the entire construction of the fabric going on top of it. So these sensors are actually engineered in a way that the actual placement of the parrot comes exactly where it does, so that you're able to get the complete experience.
Right.
Yeah.
So something like this would cost how much?
Something like this we actually retail at 50 to 500 plus GST. The whole idea is that the way that it is constructed is that the hardware sort of sits on top, and we make it in a way that it is completely easy to install, so we don't really need to be on location for the person to actually install it. As long as there's an electrician and this has been well tested, we are good to go.
All right, so we saw the lamps. It's time to move on to the frames, and behind these very beautiful weaves is actually the sound of a sarangi. And it's a full melody,
It's a sargam,
it's
yes.
a sargam. Okay, can we play that then? Wow! So you don't need an instrument. This is a fabric that plays.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So tell me a little bit about why did you choose this particular instrument, and how did this entire notes being weaved into come around?
So the instrument actually is a sarangi, which is often used in like Rajasthani music, Sindhi music, even Punjabi folk music. So the idea was to also bring the folk music to the fore. And I mean, also it's interesting to know that Kutchi people, the ones who are, you know, weaving this as well, have migrated from Sindh, Pakistan, and are now, you know, in Kutch. So there's a lot of like Sindhi involved in the way they, you know, talk. Their language is, Kutchi is very, very similar to it. So we wanted the piece to sort of echo that, and we wanted the, you know, the rabari embroidery and the bujodi to sort of feel like you've almost transported yourselves to the white sands.
I don't even want to ask how you've got the notes in the weaves, but that's a discussion for another day. It's time to play with it a little more. Let me try it out. You want to jam?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, that's a beautiful note. We can do this all day long. When you took this design to these very traditional people, and you know, who take so much pride in their craft, and now so much is being done in the country to sort of preserve it as well. When you told them that you have to, you know, sort of weave in a circuit, like what was the reaction there?
So, I mean, it actually took us 6 years to convince them to want to work with us.
Wow.
Because we took our time, we really believed that they're the custodians of the craft, and we really didn't want to go there and hand them spec sheets as to what to do. So we over time sort of nudged them into by showing up again and again, and, you know, doing a few experiments. And I clearly remember it was the day before we left for the Dutch Design Week that I got a call from the artisan saying, "Nahi, kaam karne mein maza aayega."
How did you marry? How did you think of getting like a sarangi on a typical Gujarat sort of a print and Gujarat handloom?
This piece, interestingly, has also touched the hands of at least 5 communities of artisans.
Really?
So there's the weaving, there is of course the embroidery by the Rabaris, there is woodwork, there is brass work, you know, there's stitching. Of course, these are not traditional crafts, all of them, but it has really passed all of these processes to get where it is. And the whole thing had to sort of come together, and we wanted the people to be transported to the white sands of Kutch just by, you know, playing with it. And that's kind of what we're trying to deliver.
Yeah, and this is where the circuit really is, because that's where
that's the entire hardware. And actually what we've also done now is that we've embedded the speaker, everything in it. So all you need to do is just plug in either a power bank or a wall powered adapter, and
you're good to go.
You're good to go.
All right, we heard the birds, we heard the sarangi. It's now the turn of The manjeera, right?
Yeah.
This is quite fascinating. It also looks a little sort of manjeera-like, if at all it's flat like that. And I like how all this is sort of a touchpad. You touch and it's a touch sound. Yeah. So tell me, this one is one of your first pieces?
This is one of our first pieces. It's actually the piece that we launched at the Dutch Design Week and kind of got what got the ball rolling. So the idea about this piece is that the entire circuit is a woven circuit. It's completely engineered, as in the loom, when the fabric is being woven, the touch pads were being woven. So exactly where we wanted the, the motifs to be, we kind of placed it accordingly with the artisans, and off loom it was a working piece. We just attached the hardware to it and it was good to go. So it's also because craft is such an interactive process, we're able to sort of make these sort of changes and work with them in cohesion and create something like this. The story about the manjeera also is that the Bujodi artisans, the Kutchi weavers, actually do moonlight as musicians. So a lot of their instruments, for example this and this as well, are inspired by music instruments, and we've kept those motifs as it is.
But you have to tell me this, stuff like this, when you showcase them, what is the weirdest reaction you've ever got from people saying that we thought we came to see art, we didn't know it would be audio visual both, right?
So I guess one of our biggest takeaways and something that really keeps us going, and believe me, there are a lot of late nights involved in all of this because it's not easy, is really the expression of wow on people's faces. And it's also this sort of, it brings out this very childlike quality in them because it suddenly breaks down so many walls. It breaks down all the cultural apprehensions and just really brings out the kid in you. And that, I think, is one of the biggest takeaways from what we do.
But what about the future of e-textile then? And this particular sort of innovation that you've got your hands on, are there different ways in which you can use it? Are there ways to scale up? What's the next leg?
Certainly. So actually the reason that we did something more playful is because India as a market was still warming up to the idea of e-textiles, and this was not really a word that people have heard often, and it's not something that they are very familiar with. It doesn't have to be something, just playful and interactive. This is a fun way to sort of bring the idea out to the public and make functional
So give me some examples of stuff that can be done with this tech.
So much. You can actually use it in medical tech, you can use it in sportswear. People actually embed, Nike is working on, a lot of research in embedding this into sportswear to track athletes, numbers, the heart rate, speed, so on and so forth. So there's so much that is actually happening. The whole idea is that you embed the tech so seamlessly in the fabric, and everywhere the fabric goes, the tech basically goes. So it's one of the easiest ways to create an impact, because it's also a medium that is so familiar to you. Even if you're not from a textile background, it is something that you're already dealing with.
Right. So this is just the tip of the iceberg is what we are learning over here. The tech can be used in so many different ways. Oh gosh, this is a lot. This is much, much bigger, conversation over here. But before we go, let's play with it one more time. And you're right, it is this childlike feature that wants you to keep doing this all day long. Okay, while we enjoy, we'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.